how the trade war crushed a growing Chinese market for U.S. cranberries. So cranberry producers in Massachusetts and around the country are slowly drowning in surplus fruit. There is no reason we should ever have surplus fruit anywhere at any time as long as there is a poverty level in this country. But I also understand these are farmers. They need to make a living. For years, harvests in the three major cranberry-producing countries, the United States, Canada, and Chile, have swelled, while many consumers have turned away from sugary beverages like cranberry juice. As a result, the global supply of cranberries, wow, say that 5 times fast. That's a lot of tongue twisters there. And given the nature of the show, I'm reading everything for the first time. So the supply of cranberries has outgrown demand. We're in what I think is a really tough spot right now, said Dom Fernandez, a third-generation cranberry grower in Carver, Massachusetts. Now, I am as far from a farmer as you can get. I wish that wasn't the case. I always wanted to learn farming. When I was part of a crop share in Tennessee, I was good friends with my farmers. Maybe good friends is a bit of a stretch, but we became buddies. We would always chat it up. And they did a program where you could work in exchange for your share. If you didn't want to pay cash for it, you could work on the farm in exchange for your weekly share. I wanted to do it just to do it. I didn't mind just paying cash for my share. It was affordable, but I kind of wanted to do it for a week just to do it. And because of my road schedule, I was never able to do that. But I always thought that would have been cool. I know it's brutal work. Like, it is incredibly hard work. My fiance's family, some of her family, they run a maple farm, and it is insanely difficult what they do. And it is insanely time consuming. They're not even able to come to our wedding because that's like part of the harvest or whatever. I don't know if you say the word harvest for maple. Who knows? Anyway, cranberries, not doing great. I didn't know, my point being, I didn't know you could specialize in just cranberries. I didn't know that was a thing. You could just be like, hey, cranberries, that's what we do. I learned something new today. All right, so they're in a tough spot right now because there's not a demand for cranberries. And with the Trump administration, as the Trump administration prepares for a new round of trade talks, Chinese tariffs on American cranberries remain in place, adding to the economic pain growers are feeling. So because there's the tariffs on the American cranberries aren't coming in, and there was a demand for American cranberries in China. I think what should happen in situations like this, if ever there is a surplus from a farm, the government should purchase it and give it to people. That's what I think. Wow, Ron, you sound a little bit like a hippie idealist. I don't care. There's no reason any food that is grown should go to waste in this country. There is no reason for any of that to happen. And I'm sure they do their best selling it at the local farmers market. And I understand that a farm can't just be a charity. I understand they can't do that. They need to generate revenue from what they're growing. I understand that. I'm not expecting farms to just be like, we got extra cranberries, here you go. I understand that's a difficult predicament because they spend money to produce this stuff. They spend time. They need their farm to be economically sustainable. Totally get that. But there should be some kind of system in place where it's like, hey, for whatever reason, you got excess crops. Maybe it's because of trade deals. Maybe it's because demand's just going down. Whatever it may be, we're buying them from you. We're distributing them to hungry people. We're going to make sure you get yours so your farm is sustainable, because the last thing we need in this country are farms closing. Farms should be opening in this country, not closing. And I know that's not I make it out like it's a store. Like the farm's gotta. I clearly do not know much about the mechanics of farming or the lingo, obviously. But what I do know is that our food culture in this country is fucked. Our food culture is absolutely ridiculous. The way we treat food, what we put in food, our attitude towards food. Just the fact that if you want to get shit, if you want to go to the grocery store and just get boxed garbage, you can. If you want to get produce, a lot more expensive. You want to get good quality produce, it's so much more expensive. In other countries, it's the opposite, by the way. In a lot of other countries, if you want fresh produce, if you want fresh breads or whatever, that's very affordable. When I was in Italy, I would occasionally for lunch just buy a loaf of bread and then just buy, like a thing of Italian cheese and then just get some random fruits and vegetables. It'd be like €3 or €4 for all that. And it was enough of a bounty that would be my lunch for like 5 days in a row. Like 5 days in a row. I would just eat that for lunch. It was like €4 or €5 for everything. If that, it might have been even less. But here in this country, you want a thing of organic blueberries or blackberries, and it's like $5 just for a little container of it. It's insane the way we treat food in this country. Absolutely insane. But if you want to get boxed macaroni and cheese, you can get like 10 of those for $1. And I'm not shaming people at all that need to do that to survive. I pretty much lived on that stuff for a long time, but it's not healthy. It's nowhere close to healthy, and our food culture needs to be completely reinvigorated. People have to have better relationships with their farms, and there should be systems in place to help this along. The weird thing about the United States is that in so many ways, and I was thinking about this yesterday. I went to my farmer's market yesterday, and I got a lot of stuff for a reasonable price. And this is Los Angeles. Nothing's cheap in Los Angeles. But I got like a week and a half's worth of produce if I would have gotten all that stuff at the grocery store, it would have been, God, I'm just trying to do the math in my head, like just quickly. It would have been 3 times as much, I'm pretty sure. Like when I'm factoring in what I got, the fact that I got apples, I got pears, I got I got different types of peppers, I got celery, I got green beans, I got 2 different kinds of cucumbers, some of the mini ones that I like to just eat, all willy-nilly. I got all that stuff. And I think just half of that stuff would have cost what I paid. So it would have been at least twice as much, maybe 3 times as much if I would have gotten all that at a grocery store. So the weird thing is in a lot of places, whether you live in a rural area or an urban area, a lot of places you can eat healthily and it's affordable. But you need to know where to look to do that. It's not easy to figure that out. And it's not possible for everyone. There are people who live in food deserts in the United States. It exists, which, by the way, that should never exist in the United States. But usually there is a farm that does some kind of crop share that you can buy a share. For any of you guys that don't know what that is, it's called a CSA. And make sure you Google CSA farm or something like that. If you just Google CSA, it might take you to something not very nice. When I lived in Tennessee, my cousin actually had to tell me. My cousin lives in South Carolina. He actually had to say, he's like, dude, don't just say CSA without having a precursor to what you're talking about. Like, oh, I have a CSA crop share from my farm. Like say the whole thing. Because if you just say, I love my CSA, they might think you're referring to the Confederate States of America, which is something much different than what you're talking about. And you would not want people making that mistake. No, I would not. So anyway, it is referred to as a CSA, which I believe stands for consumer supported agriculture, but it's basically just a crop share. And what happens there is for a fee, for a weekly fee or a monthly fee, depending on how the farm does it, you get a box of fresh produce from the farm. You get a share of what that farm has grown for the entire harvest season. You're basically just buying into the bounty of the farm. And it's usually pretty affordable. And when you break it down and you compare it to what you would spend in the grocery store, it's way cheaper. And in some cases, like in the case where I was at in Nashville, Tennessee, you can join a farm, and if you don't have the funds, you can work for your share. Maybe you don't have the funds, but you do have a little bit of time because you're underemployed. Well, hey, you can work a couple hours a week and get. Lucy does not like the idea of farming. Lucy's like, dude, that's where you lose me. That's where you lose me. I am not going to farm. You let me outside, I'm going to hunt. That's what I'm going to do. You want to keep predators away? I'll help there, as long as they're small predators. But actual farming, not my cup of tea. Lucy bailed. But so what I'm getting at is that there are ways to eat well. And what I mean by well is healthy. But the systems aren't in place for it. Our governments don't really help our farms. Our government doesn't really aid our food culture or connect it to health and well-being. We don't do that because we don't have healthcare in this country. We don't have actual healthcare. If we had a Medicare for all system, we would focus more on preventative care, which would go towards eating, which would kind of connect all these. You get the idea. So no cranberry should go to waste in this country. None, ever. There should be a system in place that whenever there's a bounty that can't be used for what it's normally useful and there's an excess, the government comes in and buys that and subsidizes it and then distributes it to hungry people. That should exist. And we can pay for a program like that many times over. It'd be a very, very affordable thing to do. That what I just described would not be difficult at all. So that sucks for the cranberry growers. That sucks that they're not they're not finding a home for their cranberries. Now, Lisa here says that the USDA does buy up some surplus crops, and they used to distribute in mass distributions quarterly to low income. Well, they need to expand that and bring it back. They need to expand that and bring it back. That's what they need to do. So I guess some of that does go on, but definitely not enough of it. It needs to be a national, well-funded, solid federal program that's efficient and does the job.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your